Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will try to learn disposal of non-current assets. Disposal means sale of non-current asset. But when we are discussing disposal of non-current assets, actually we have to calculate profit or loss on disposal of a non-current asset. We might be asked to prepare a disposal account along with motor vehicles and its provision account. Let us try to discuss one by one each of them. So students, first of all, depreciation rate is 25% per annum and method is reducing balance method. A full year's depreciation is charged in the year of purchase and no depreciation is charged in the year of sale. So students, this vehicle was bought for 16,000. So the original cost is 16,000 and it was bought on 1st September 2020. So we used it for 4 months in 2020, 1st September 2020 to 31st December 2020 in year 1, and year 2 from 1st January 2020 to 31st December 2020, and year 3 from 1st Jan 2022 to 31st December 2022. Students, according to the policy, because full year's depreciation is charged in the year of purchase, that's why we will ignore 4 months and calculate depreciation of full year. So depreciation of year 1 will be 16,000 into 25%, that will be equal to 4,000. And year 2, because vehicle was used for a complete year, so depreciation of complete year will be calculated, and because the method is reducing balance method, that's why first of all we will calculate its book value, cost minus previous year's depreciation, that is 12,000, and 25% of this 12,000 is 3,000. Students, we also used this vehicle in year 2022, but because that was sold in 2022 and the policy is no depreciation will be charged in the year of sale, that's why we will not charge depreciation for third year. So students, total depreciation in the period of use is 4,000 plus 3,000 is equal to 7,000. Its original cost is 16,000. Total depreciation in the period of use is 7,000 and the net book value is 9,000. Because this vehicle was sold for 9,500 and any non-current asset sold above net book value gives a profit of 500 on disposal. Its net book value was 9,000 and it was sold 500 above net book value, so the profit on disposal is 500. Now students, we will try to prepare their T accounts. First of all, we are given motor vehicles opening balance. Balance brought down of any asset is always recorded on the debit side and the date is 2022 January 1, and provisions are contra asset, that's why always have a credit balance. So So students, after recording balances, debit balance of a non-current asset and a credit balance of provision, if any asset is bought in the current year, that will be debited. Because no asset is bought in the current year, that's why we will not record any debit entry in this account. And we already know in B part that a vehicle was sold. Students, in this question they already required us to calculate profit or loss on disposal. We didn't prepare any disposal account, but you might be asked to prepare a disposal account. Disposal of motor vehicle account. So students, whenever an asset is bought, it will be debited, because no asset was bought, that's why there will not be any debit entry. But a motor vehicle was sold. Now the motor vehicle that was sold had an original cost of 16,000. Any motor vehicle sold will be credited in motor vehicles account and debited in disposal account with the original cost. Students often make an error. They don't write here original cost, they write here sales value. So original cost of the non-current asset at which it was bought. So in the motor vehicle account we will write here disposal, and in the disposal account we will write here motor vehicle. Now student, there was no other transaction relating to motor vehicle, that's why we will balance it off. It was sold on December 31, 2022. Balances are recorded on the last day of the year, and the balance carried on will be 48,000 minus 16,000. Total of both sides is 48,000, and closing balances. Students, don't forget to write this balance brought down, because normally this balance brought down carries 1 mark even if your answer is wrong. Now students, we calculated total depreciation of the asset sold, and that was 7,000. 4,000 plus 3,000. Recording total depreciation of asset being sold, it will be debited in motor vehicles account and credited in disposal account. It will be debited in provision for depreciation account, and credited in disposal of motor vehicle account. And in provision we will write here disposal of motor vehicle, and in disposal we will write here provision for depreciation account. Because this asset was sold for 9,500, it is not mentioned in the question whether it was sold for by cash or on credit. In this situation we will write here bank. Total of the credit side is 16,000. Total of the debit side is total of the credit side is 16,500, and the total of debit side is 16,000. So we will write here 500 income statement. Students, this is profit on disposal. This is T account presentation of the same calculation that we did in B part. In B part, we were required to calculate gain or loss on disposal. We were not supposed to prepare a T account. We can calculate or we can prepare a disposal account. But whenever in a question we are asked to prepare a disposal account, we will not show only calculations. We have to show this disposal account. Students, the question is not yet complete. The next part is, and that is the most difficult part, to calculate depreciation of current year. We will record depreciation of current year on the credit side named income statement, and this is calculated on the last day of the year. Now, how to calculate depreciation? Students, this is opening balance of motor vehicles cost account, and this is opening balance of provision for depreciation of motor vehicles account. First of all, subtract the asset from the balances that was sold. Subtract cost of that asset from cost. The original cost of the asset that was sold was 16,000, and subtract its total depreciation, that is 7,000, from the provision for depreciation. Remaining cost is 32,000 and remaining provision is 14,000. Now, because we are using reducing balance method, that's why we will subtract 14,000 from 32,000 and that remain 18,000. Now, because rate of depreciation is 25%, that's why we will calculate 25%, which will be 18,000 into 25%, which is 4,500. So it is 4,500. So students, depreciation of current year is 4,500. Now we will balance off this provision for the balance carried on will be 2023 January 1. Students, don't forget to write this balance brought down. As I explained earlier, this carries 1 mark normally. In the next part, we are supposed to tell whether an expenditure is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. Any spending that appears in statement of financial position is a capital expenditure, and any spending that appears in income statement is a revenue expenditure. So, legal fee for obtaining permission to build the extension, any non-current asset that was bought, and before use, any expenditure on that non-current asset is considered to be a capital expenditure, and that will be included in cost of that non-current asset. Building cost extension, any extension that adds value to the non-current asset is a capital expenditure. Insurance is an expense that appears in income statement, that's why this is a revenue expenditure. Painting the office extension, any extension that is newly built, not yet used, any painting before use is a capital expenditure. Office calendar for 2023, any spending that gives benefit for only 1 year is a revenue expenditure. purchase of office equipment, it's a purchase of non-current asset, this is a capital expenditure. Installation cost is also a capital expenditure. Any uh, any expenditure incurred on a non-current asset before use and before converted into the usable condition is considered to be capital expenditure. Stationery for office stationery is a revenue expenditure. Students, any legal cost on non-current asset, any installation cost, and up to testing when a non-current asset has been installed, and any testing before use is also a capital expenditure. Students, hope you learned today basic concept of disposal account and its format. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.